Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good evening. This is your host, the White Collar Goon, the creative and artistic manifestation of Angels in Politics. Angels in Politics, of course, is the philanthropy, it is the philosophy, it is you. Remember, you are the news and you're all we talk about. Okay? I'm right now about to head into the Starbucks. I have some studying to do. I just got some really cool material. My Airbnb book came in the mail. And then I have, of course, like my notebooks that I've taken notes on. Well, of course, I take notes on my notebook or in my notebook. But I've been to some classes, some courses, and I want to make sure I retain or attempt to retain what I can from these classes because they're jewels. They're dropping jewels, nuggets of information, nuggets that can change your life, and that's what you pay for. Somebody expects things to fall out the sky for them, and just you wake up and then you're popping, and it's not like that. It's a gradual process. It's incremental. It's an incremental gain. It's an incremental, I guess, process of self-actualization and in maturation and just maturing into being the archetypal superhero. So that's where I'm at with it. um Somebody might ask me, like, Gabe, are you the hero? Like, really? Like, I know that you are the challenger. I know you're the nonconformist. I know that you are very confrontational, very contentious. I know you have so much to say. um we hear that you are quite keen on promoting or being an advocate for the divine feminine, but like, I don't know why, because for the people who really know you, they think you're full of shit. Most girls who have met you say, like, you actually weren't women's best allies. You were probably kind of like the opposite. Some women, well, not to say I was a villain, but some women were like, hey, Gabe, you're not necessarily famous with women. You're probably more so on the infamous side of women, on women's perspective, or women's, I guess their descriptions of you, their descriptions of you would be more on the, I don't know what side, but the divine feminine cheerleader, being a champion for femininity. I don't know if people would actually would think that. And because of that, and knowing that life is about polarity is even more the reason why I am the divine feminine. Because of that polarity, because I probably was not the biggest proponent of women, because I was not the biggest advocate of women's sexual agency or their femininity or their competence, intelligence, industriousness, intuitiveness. Maybe that is the reason why I do have this platform, and I am constantly pushing for women to be self actualized, and more so like give them like that foundational, like, give them that foundation of confidence, give them that foundation of self-esteem. I tend to have a lot of it. Some people might say, hey man, you're a bit too much, but like, at the same time, like, I'm using my confidence and self-esteem and this spirit that I have to implement. This is for implementation. Like, ladies, like, the sky is the limit, and actually the sky is not your limit. Like, you know what I'm saying? There is no limit to the sky, and you can like beam up right past that motherfucker, and now you're in the stratosphere, and now you're astral projecting, and now you're really and once you start projecting, once you start to get to that lifestyle, and once you really start manifesting your life, once you really start tapping into a certain frequency, and you're writing your dreams down, and you're tapping into lucid dreamings, and things start to open up to you. Things start to open up for you. And I know you've probably seen that film Inception, but like, that's just like scratching the surface, and that's really just a movie by Christopher Nolan. As far as you, homegirl, like, listen, the women in X-Men don't have anything on you. Like, Wonder Woman doesn't have anything on you. Fucking Catwoman, Harley Quinn, those girls are fucking lame in comparison to your superpowers, homegirl. So manifest that, cultivate that. All right, so I'll get into it. Before, I mean, I'll be honest, like, I do have so many like shortcomings, and I guess the fact that I try to be radically transparent about them is how I feel like I can help you. You know, like people have seen me be like aggressive, or people know me to be like this kind of guy who doesn't have necessarily this nurturing, oh baby, I will like love you forever type of spirit, and they know what they're getting with me. But at the same time, I kind of want to explain to you like what my weaknesses are and why I am this way, right? So I remember, well, I wrote something called The Disenchanted Wolf not too long ago. You'll probably be seeing and feeling that some of that information very soon. You might be reading that information very, very soon. But within that text, I talk about, building self-confidence for males, and I talk about that by like letting you know how my confidence, my self-esteem went crash, burn, and it wasn't just the confidence, it was the ego. It was like the death of the ego. We call that the ego death. So it was the death of my ego, deconstructing the ego, and figuring out what was the source of my confidence and what was the source of my self-esteem. And most of that came from women. 99% of that came from women. And if your personal gratification or satisfaction or your self-esteem or your morale or your anything like that, if your confidence comes from someone else, particularly women, then this you're a loser, man. And I was a loser because when women weren't showing me respect, or when women weren't admiring me, or when women weren't praising me, then that means I felt like I was useless. I felt like I was a lame. I felt like I was a herb. I felt like I was something that's like something that I didn't want to be, and I had to work on that. So in the Disenchanted Wolf, I say like write down. Well, I talk to guys and I say write down what you think or what you know to be your weaknesses. What are things you need to work on? What are things that are preventing you from attracting that divine, the divine feminine, the divine energy, the archetypal woman, the quintessential woman, or just women in general? What is your hindrance? What is encumbering you? What is limiting you? And I had a list of like 4 or 5, but the top two, the top two for me, my top two weaknesses was one, me being drunk all the time. So alcohol was a big thing. And two, it would be my gregariousness, my talkativeness, too talkative. And some people might say, well, Gabe, we like it when you talk, but well, not in the sense of if I want to, if I wanted to get, you know, if I wanted to build a relationship with a woman and for her to be attracted to me, I mean, it was good for me because that was like my outlet. Like I didn't need what they call like a counselor. I didn't need a therapist because the world was my therapist. Any woman I talked to, I'm like this. I was just blah 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 blah, letting it all come out, and telling her my dreams and talking about manifestation and talking about me, aspiring to do this and that and the third, might sound, I don't know what it sounds like on paper, but I can tell you what it sounds like in real life. And it sounds like somebody who's just talking a hole into a woman's head, and they're not into that type of shit. Why? Because they feel like, hey, I'm the woman, I'm the one who's pretty, I'm the divine feminine. Why are you not asking me questions? Why are you not getting me to pour my emotions out, or not necessarily become some soap opera or some soapbox, but like, why aren't you intrigued by me? Like women were talking to me and saying like, you're more into yourself than you are me. Well, you're 10 times more into yourself than me. Matter of fact, you're probably not even into me. Like there were girls who were saying like, why are you even here, bro? Like, why are you even in my face? Like, you don't want to have sex. You definitely don't want to have sex with me, because clearly you're not even trying to, like, you're not allowing me to get in a word edgewise, because you have so much to say. You have so much on your heart. You have so much on your mind. You're talking about cognitive spectrums and cognitive discipline, and some women at bars after they've had drinks, they're there to be feminine. They're there to have a good time. They're there to release and spread their positive energy, their feminine energy. That's what they want to do. They want a masculine, they want the masculine guy, or the divine masculine to intermingle and to synchronize and to synthesize with their divine feminine so they can open themselves up, and not physically but spiritually, emotionally, socially, psychologically. That's what women wanted to be. Women wanted to be challenged, but not challenged in the sense like who has a better story. Oh yeah, Gabe, you came from all these places in the world and you've traveled all these places and you've done all these jobs, and you wear fucking gold earrings, and you wear tight jeans, and then blah blah blah. It's like for the longest time women were probably like, bro, like we get it. We fucking get it. You're into yourself, right? So, I remember being in China, and my roommate. I talk a lot about my roommates. My roommates were cool guys, and my roommates were winning, dude. My roommates were fucking winners. Like I'm talking, like they were going to the bars, they were going to clubs. We went out. I mean, we all went to bars and clubs. That was the time of the rage. And if you have read Ethos to the Rage, I kind of detail. I definitely detail a lot of my social experiences, nightlife experiences, but there was one time whereby my roommate was, hanging out with this Aussie, some Australian woman, and she was super cool. Super cool, and I will tell you one thing about the Aussies. They definitely keep it real. Like, the thing about, let's say the average white girl from America, like, you can find, I don't know if it's like an average thing, because, depending on where you meet them, an average white girl from New York or California is going to be different from like New York City and Los Angeles, so to speak, will be different than middle American white girls, right? Just because of the sheer, upbringing and ecosystem and environment and so on and so forth, and the multiculturalisms and whatever. But I would say the average Australian, even though like everybody isn't from Sydney or Melbourne, like, but the average Aussie is pretty like straightforward. You know what I'm saying? They're pretty honest. Some people don't like that, but somebody like me loves it. Like they're what they say what they feel. They say what's on their mind, and it's like that, and they have a good time. They're actually very like, yeah. They don't take things as seriously as Americans. I would say like they definitely can take a joke. They definitely are about like good times, and they can have a beer or have a few beers, and and it's like it's really cool. It's actually really refreshing to talk to people from that side of the world. Australians, Kiwis, they're not the same, but they're definitely similar in that sense than the American girl or the Canadian girl or whatever the case may be. So one time my homeboy, my roommate, was talking to this, was dating, hooking up with this Aussie, and I remember her seeing me at a bar, or whenever they first met us, when she first met both of us. She noticed, like, after coming back to the bar, or seeing me later, I was on some date with a girl from, I don't know, Philadelphia or some shit like that. I was on a date with her, and, the girl, I presumed had a decent time, but evidently not, because she was like, oh, all right, so, I had a good time, but I'll go, and then she ended up leaving, and I was still at the bar. And my boy Chris was like, what happened, man? Why aren't you going back with her? Or like, what's up? And I was like, I mean, she wasn't, she didn't seem interested, or whatever the case. I mean, she wasn't interested. Like, it didn't go down. It wasn't going down. And I remember the girl from Australia was like, bro, like, your issue is that, Gabe, you're just too cool. Like, you're too cool. And, it sounds like, oh man, that's some cool shit to be. It's like, no. She was being serious. Like, no, you're not getting laid because that's what it is. Like, you're focused on being this cool guy, whatever this quote unquote cool guy is. And yeah, man, you have your disposition together, you have your demeanor together, you have the way about yourself together, you got the style or whatever, and the gold on your wrist, and the accoutrements and shit. But it's like, you notice she's not going back home with you, right? And you notice, like, when I first met you, I thought you were cool too, and I'm fucking your friend, right? You know what I mean? It's one of those, revolving things that it's like it was true. It's like, bro, like, you're worried about checking off this box of coolness, of swag, of being like, of not being seen as a herb, or not being seen as corny. And you know what? Girls aren't calling you corny. Girls aren't calling you lame. Girls aren't going to say, oh, that guy's a terrible dresser, or he's in terrible shape. They're not saying that. But you know what else they're not saying? I'm definitely fucking that guy that night. You know what I'm saying? I'm definitely, gonna go home with him. Yep, you know what? He's getting the pussy tonight. They weren't saying that either. So my thing is like the girl was giving me like dead ass true advice. Like, and I remember like there like later on that night there were some, another group of girls coming in, and or maybe there was a different night. We were at some bar called Perry's, and I remember like pulling up on some girls and following, saying something to the girl, walking outside with her, and it would look like from the outside in, it's like, oh, Gabe, you pulled. You know what I'm saying? You said something to the girl at the bar. Next, you were taking the elevator out with her. And I'm in the front parking lot and saying some shit, and the girl ends up leaving, and I'm still out there, and I got her whatever it was, WeChat, that's Chinese for like phone number, and it's like I got her WeChat, and then I remember the same Aussie chick was like, Gabe, you're not gonna see her again, right? Like I was like, well, I got her. No, Gabe, like you got her, whatever, but like she's not gonna respond to you. You won't see her ever again. Like, and it's direct words like that, direct words like that is gonna be what you need as a guy for you to learn, like, you know what I'm saying? Because you might think, oh, I know my issue is me being drunk. No, a lot of people can go to the bar and drink. Yes, my issue with me being drunk was the fact that it was, if I talk like this right now and I'm sober, imagine me 7 beers deep, right? Imagine me after, I smoke 2 joints, and then I've had the bottle of wine, and then I'm taking shots of whiskey. Like, okay, so it's like, now, Gabe, now you're out of control. Now it's not cool, and it wasn't cool before. And then, okay, now women think you're dangerous. Now women are afraid of you. Now, like, no, they're not going to touch you with a 10-foot pole because it's like it's not in their favor. It's not in their benefit. There's nothing good that comes from this. Matter of fact, you're probably too drunk to even perform. I mean, it's one of these things that like me being me, I was my own worst enemy. You feel what I'm saying? I was my biggest detriment. So, I talk about this to keep it real with you all. Like, I have a lot to say about, praising women and uplifting them and being encouraging and empowerment and all that type of shit. But like at the end of the day, it's not because I just woke up and I'm like some champion for women. Like, no, dude, like I was going on dates upon dates, man. I was listening to how my homeboys were talking. They were like, Gabe, like, how many dates have you gone on with this girl? You've been going on 3 dates and you haven't gotten any, like, you haven't gotten a kiss. You haven't, like, and then it was like another set of girls, like, yo, you've been going on those dates. Like, what are you getting out of this? Like, what happened? And I'm like, man, I'm going for coffee. I'm hanging out with them. And I feel like we're having great conversation. And it's like, no, Gabe, you're having great conversations. She's not. She's probably not even saying much. It's just you. I mean, you going on these dates, and like whenever I find out that my homies are not dating like that, like, yeah, they might take a girl out for coffee. Yeah, they might be going out for dinner. But for the most part, like, no, like these girls are actually like really respecting these guys. These girls were actually like coming to see them. These girls were actually inviting them over. And I was finding out like, why am I not winning? You know what I'm saying? Why am I not having this, why am I not having this intimate, mutual respect with women? And it was really like, it was really hard for me to face the facts. It was really hard for me to face the music that it was me. You know what I'm saying? I was thinking maybe maybe it's her. Maybe these girls are just lame. Maybe they're just not that into me. Or maybe it's, it's the fact that, maybe I just smoked too much weed. It's like, no, dude, it wasn't the weed. I mean, that probably didn't help that much, but maybe it did. Or maybe it wasn't the alcohol, even though, no, it definitely was. You drunk too much. But like, for the truth of the matter is, it's like, dude, you're not making it about them. You're not focused on them. You're not interested in them. Like, genuinely, you're not interested in them. And those girls can tell. Those girls can tell you're more interested in yourself. You're more interested in your cool factor. You're more interested in telling people your worldly stories and having this platform and being the star. Like my homegirl told me back in college, she's like, Gabe, you invite people over, people come to your dorm, you have the music, you have the wine, but really it's just a stage for you. And she was right. She's like, you like the attention. You love the attention. You are the star. You want to be the star. So it's not about sex for you. It's not about hooking up with you. It's not about dating for you. It's not about love and affection for you. And I mean, they knew that. But it's like, you truly just want that validation. You truly just want to express yourself. So I say all that to say, like, guys, your truth The proof is in the pudding, guys. The proof is in the pudding. Like, I am a talkative guy. I do like attention. I do have to work on these things. But the good thing about that is take this energy and put it in a conducive channel. Put it in channel it into a way that now you have built something. Build an industry behind your gregariousness. Build an industry behind your openness. Build an industry behind the fact that you just love to talk to women, and that now I have now I have political counsel. Now I have the political connections. Now I have political creative. Now I have political campaigns, or the political campaign that is running political capital. Now, you know what I'm saying? Now the political circle is starting to take shape, and I'm blessed and I'm fortunate for this to happen, but I have to realize, and I have to be humble, and I have to be transparent and tell you guys, like, I write so much about women. I have the poems about women. I have the vignettes about women. I have the cheers for women. I promote the feminine energy, not because I was the man, not because they were just saying, Gabe, you're so great. Gabe, you're so great. Gabe, we love you. It was because of the opposite, bro. It was because of the opposite. It was because now it's very, very, clear. It's clear as day when we go out that I stand out, not stand out with like my clothing, or not, because it's not that. It's like, now it's clear that, yo, Gabe, your friends are over 30. All your brothers are married, or they're looking to be married. They have kids, and you are still like this. So my thing is, now people can see it. It's like, Gabe, you need to do something with this. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have such a way about thinking, or you have such an opinion, you're heavily opinionated, like, now you need to do something with this. And that's why I write the stories. That's why the blog is there. That's why I've traveled and taken the thousands of pictures that I need to get fixed that's on my external hard drive. It's like, that's why I am doing these things. So, figure out your vulnerabilities, be open about your vulnerabilities, know your weaknesses, and work on them. And once you are working on your weaknesses, you'll find the beauty in that. And here we are. White Collar Goon.